It's not like 9 to 5, it can just be like 24/7, I feel.
Marketing pro Valerie joins us to talk startup chaos, smart content strategies, and why most brands get content wrong.
And I think people come and they're very creative, but being very creative doesn't necessarily mean that's going to resonate with your audience.
Okay.
Like I've seen so many times people just rush the pre-production thing and we spend hours and hours, meanings thousands of kronas, and it was unfixable.
If a brand wants to level up its content today, what's the number one thing they should focus on?
For brands to level up their content these days,
Thanks for coming, Valerie. You're welcome.
nice to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Excited to talk about this. It's my everyday life. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
it's
all
a
I'm ever
pleasure.
doing.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
How's life going for you these days?
It's been busy. Working at a startup is just really intense, so it never stops. It's not like 9 to 5. It can just be like 24/7, I feel.
Mm.
And I'm very passionate about it. So yeah, sometimes I give in more than I wish,
Yeah.
almost. But yeah, I'm very excited to do what I'm doing, and I can feel like I'm privileged to have a job where I'm very just happy to be there.
Mm. So you're happy with your job?
100%.
And
Yeah.
these extra hours you're saying, because I know on a startup it's usually like you can do like way more hours than you actually sign on your work contract, right?
Of course, yeah.
You get paid for those extra hours?
In an experience, in learning, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Not in mine necessarily.
Not in the salary.
But I
But you
feel
got
like
the experience.
in a point of my career, I'm not necessarily only after the money. I'm
Yeah.
there to learn a lot, and that's also why you work in startup. You don't go to work in a startup to make money, basically. That's
Yeah,
just not
right.
possible. So, yeah, I'm there for the right reasons, and it also shows.
What are brands getting wrong when it comes to content strategy?
A lot of brands are struggling with the same, just lack of resources. So maybe they don't focus on research, or they don't take advantage of the materials that are already out there that other brands are doing. And if they do, they often end up just copying that content. Doesn't allow them to stand out in any way. So I see there's just lots of people who want to have a business, right? So there's lots of mediocre businesses out there. There's also businesses that don't have any special value proposition, which I feel like it can also be okay, but you need to have some kind of story behind it at least. And I feel like brands just often don't have that, or it's not authentic and strong enough. Yeah, and I think creating content that stands out but also resonates. And I think people come and they're very creative, but being very creative doesn't necessarily mean that's going to resonate with your audience. Really just doing a research and understanding what is it that the audience needs. Maybe they're just very basic people who want to buy lots of products, and therefore you need to cater to that kind of audience by standing out, but maybe not in the weirdest way ever, maybe just by something subtle. So I feel like just like research, there's a lot of skipping steps in the pre-production and just shooting content out there that's not gonna resonate with anybody. I think often brands just don't have a strong character behind their concept. So I think especially when it comes to social media, you can either have the founder being the face of the company, or you need to have somebody in charge that shows up for the content. I think there's lots of brands out there that have like ambassadors, but then you don't really have anyone who's like clearly behind the brand, and you're relying on the content that others shoot for you. And I think that way you have zero control over the production, really, or over the quality perception of your brand.
Okay.
If you have a product and
Yeah.
then all the content about your product that gets shot by other people, it's going to be their perspective. It's going to be their view on the product.
Okay.
It's not going to have implementation of the values that you see in the product yourself.
Yeah.
So I feel like thinking of, for example, thinking of, for example, Prada. Sure, Prada uses another people to promote their brand, but they have their own content in which they show this is the quality. And as well, they carefully select the people who are going to represent their name in the market based on the standard they set up, right? So I feel like that's something where brands often go for user-generated content or for ambassadors, and it could often just be like relying heavily on UGC or ambassadors. It's a mistake in my opinion. I think brands need to put out their own content, make their own strong name, and complement it with these elements.
Okay. Since 2020, during the lockdown, we have been seeing the social media algorithm has been constantly shifting, and engagement has across all platforms has been dwindling, right? How do you stay ahead of the trends?
It would be cocky of anyone to say they know how to, but I think just by staying you and not just copying what is out there, and ultimately developing something that's unique to you,
Okay.
but something that's also relevant to the audience, and sticking to it no matter what the internet is doing, kind of just like sticking to your own thing, but just testing different elements of, okay, maybe this video doesn't perform, or this format of a video doesn't perform that well anymore.
Yeah.
Let's try to tweak that format into 3 different ways and find if maybe this way resonates better. I think sometimes people find something that works for them very well, and they just continue remaking that constantly forever. There was example of a guy who did some video with I think it's a recipe with cucumber in it, and he forever continues making that. And I think that is going to work for a certain period of time because it's funny, it's the shape that we all know, and it's just like it's entertaining, but it will get tiring. And I think you need to think of that as well. It's smart to repeat what works, but it's not going to work indefinitely. So you can leverage from that momentum for a short time, but you need to pivot in the right time to not lose the momentum, if it makes sense.
Okay.
Well, basically, nobody was just born expert, right?
Yeah.
So I think even with social media, you can have few videos that are a hit, and you might not be able to understand why necessarily, and maybe they're also a hit for the wrong reason. Maybe you posted a video where you look really good, and then people are like, oh, I like this person, I will follow it. But really, your Instagram or the platform you're on is not about you looking good. So eventually, these people aren't going to care about the content you're making because they're following you for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
And there's just so many another elements to this to understand, to be able to, grow. So it's easy advice to give. You need to kind of pivot or stay on top of it, but it's not easy to implement for sure.
Yeah. Nice. So let's move on to success and solutions, Valerie. Can you share a campaign or project where your strategy really paid off?
I think one of the videos that I am to a degree proud of is a project that we filmed for ourselves. It was like a social media ad where we kind of introduced the whole team and the concept, and that video performed really well. It had 100,000 of views. At the same time, I need to say the views doesn't necessarily speak for the outcome. So it was also a great learning experience because we could see, okay, we have the skills to get the views, but necessarily for those views to translate into sales, it takes another point of view. So I think even though it's a project I'm proud of, I feel like it could still be done better.
Okay.
So there was a great, I would say more like a learning experience.
If a brand wants to level up its content today, what's the number one thing they should focus on?
It really depends on what kind of content you're making, but I think good audio, it's just like nobody wants to listen to a shitty wind blowing cranky audio. So just get a good equipment or make sure you're in a quiet space when you're filming, if it's filming your own voice. And then when it comes to photography or video, I would say light is really important to deliver quality. So this would be on the terms of the quality. But I think when it comes to the performance of the content, I think just do your research instead of just booking a slot or like filming already and running into making the content. Spend way more time on what kind of content are you actually going to make? Who is the content for? What do they really want to see? What are your competitors making that's actually good? Pick up the best of what your competitors make and make it your own, make it better. And that way you just save a lot of time and money in the production and in the post-production.
Okay.
Like I've seen so many times people just rush the pre-production. They get to the studio, as into my work, they get there. They have somewhat a script that's very blunt. They film something that I already in the moment question to a degree. I'm like, what is it that we actually filming? Who is this for? I'm like, I'm not really sure. And then either the content never comes out. So basically we all wasted our time. We all wasted our resources in that moment. It was just pure waste of time because as they see the content afterwards, they understand, okay, this was not a strong idea.
Yeah.
And if they have spent more time earlier, they would understand, okay, we should have done differently. And then secondly, I have been on fault with this many times myself, where I rushed the pre-production. Then we filmed something for our own brand content, and then afterwards we're trying to fix it in editing, and we spent hours and hours, meanings thousands of kronas, and it was unfixable. And then you're just like, okay, I wasted time by filming for 3 hours, editing for 10. That gives you X thousands of kronas, and there is no outcome from it. So I think for brands to level up their content these days, they need to start by the research, right? So they first need to understand what is the audience, who are they, what do they really want to see, and how can you implement what they want to see with your brand together. So what you need to show them in order for them to want to buy, to build trust with your audience. what is it that's going to allow them to trust you as a brand?
Okay.
Maybe it means having some people behind your brand that are trustable. Maybe it means the quality of the product and showing the certifications that are there for your product. Just all of these elements. And very often it's also reflected in the quality of the content you put out there as per visual. So, for example, having high quality photographs. If you were to buy something online, a high quality photograph would probably pursue you to buy it more than a shitty phone footage with yellow light on it, right? You would be
Okay.
like, okay, this is a quality product because it's a good photograph of it.
Yeah.
And that's just such a simple trick, but it does sell. Um, so I think like thinking of the quality of the content, but also what is it that you're actually putting into the content? Is it relevant to the audience?
All right. So, guys, we hope you do have it. If you want to level up your content today, we've given you a few points. That's very important. Take notes. So, what's your role in the company, and what does a typical day look like for you?
It doesn't have a typical day. As I said, working in startup, I'm surprised because like there's days when it's just casual and I just sit at my desk and it's somewhat normal, but there's days when I'm like, what's happening? I'm a marketing person at Coho, so I'm in charge of our social media, our LinkedIn, and all these kind of platforms. I do all the content strategy for our clients, and I somewhat do our ads as well. It's more of partnership with my boss. We collaborate on that. But so basically marketing, and that really means that my day consists of so many different tasks. I also take behind the scenes. I also help with setting up on the set in the company. There's just like I welcome the guests, I make them coffees. So basically, I'm like running from task to task, kind of like a crazy person who's like, "What have I been doing a minute ago?" and coming back to doing something else.
Yeah.
So it really teaches you to like how to get focused within 1.5 minutes because maybe you only have 10 minutes to focus, and then
Yeah.
you have to go into something different again.
Yeah.
So yeah, the days are just different. But usually I would sit, I would work on some content strategy for a little bit. I would do some social media posts. I would maybe script some new filming that we're gonna work on. Then I help our videographer with whatever he needs help with.
So you're basically all around. You're an all
All
around
on,
person.
yeah, yeah, all around person for sure. And you have to be in a startup. Like you can't just be okay. All I do is let's say take pictures. You can't be like that.
Okay.
You have to think I have to do so many other things. I need to be a social element because I'm entertaining the client all the time, right? So you need to have that personality as well. You also need to be tidy. You need to clean up after yourself because we don't have a team of 5 people. We don't have a person who comes and cleans in the end of the day. You also need to be a proactive person who maybe thinks of how we can improve things, is able to take up on feedback and kind of like brainstorm, okay, we need to do this differently to make the process more efficient. So I feel like working in a new company, you need to be all around person, especially if it's a small company. You can't just be,
Yeah.
narrowed with your.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been a wonderful conversation with Valerie. We are at the end of our show right now, Valerie. Do you have anything on your mind that you would like to say before we closing?
No, just skip in between the lines when you listen to me. I know it's chaotic. It's just how it goes. Sorry.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if anyone wants to share their story, by all means, contact us and we'll get back to you immediately. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.